The rain was pouring down as I stood outside the courthouse, divorce papers clutched in my trembling hands. 3 years of marriage, gone. My husband walked past me without a single glance, his arm wrapped around my former best friend. They were already planning their wedding before our divorce was even finalized. I'd love to know which corner of the globe you're watching from, and if this story speaks to you, make sure to subscribe. Tomorrow's video is one you absolutely can't miss. What they didn't know was that this wasn't the end of my story. This was just the beginning. The morning started like any other Tuesday in our suburban Denver home. I was making breakfast for my husband Ryan Patterson, humming softly while scrambling eggs the way he liked them. The kitchen smelled of fresh coffee and bacon, and sunlight streamed through our bay windows overlooking the garden I'd spent 2 years perfecting. "Morning, beautiful," Ryan said, kissing my cheek as he grabbed his coffee mug. At 31, he still looked like the college quarterback who'd swept me off my feet at University of Colorado. His dark hair was perfectly styled, his suit impeccable. Everything about Ryan screamed success, from his corner office at Patterson and Associates law firm to his BMW in the driveway. "I made your favorite," I replied, plating his eggs with a side of wheat toast. "And don't forget, Natalie's coming over tonight for dinner. I'm making that salmon dish she loves." Ryan's expression shifted slightly, but he covered it with a smile. "Right, Natalie. Of course." Natalie Crawford had been my best friend since we were roommates at CU. She was everything I wasn't: tall, blonde, effortlessly glamorous, and born into money. Her father owned a chain of luxury hotels across Colorado, and she'd never worked a day in her life. But none of that mattered to me. She'd been there through everything: my mother's cancer diagnosis, my struggles with fertility, the miscarriage that nearly broke me 2 years ago. "She's been going through a rough patch since her breakup with Marcus," I continued, wiping down the counter. "I think she could use some cheering up." Ryan nodded absently, already scrolling through his phone. "Sure, whatever you think is best, Claire." I should have noticed how he said my name differently lately, like it was an obligation rather than an endearment. I should have seen how his eyes never quite met mine anymore, but I was too busy being the perfect wife, the supportive partner, the woman who never questioned anything because I trusted completely. That evening, I spent hours preparing dinner. The dining room looked perfect with our wedding china, fresh flowers from the garden, and candles creating a warm ambiance. I'd even worn the blue dress Ryan once said was his favorite, though I couldn't remember the last time he'd complimented anything I wore. Natalie arrived at 7 sharp, looking stunning as always, in a designer dress that probably cost more than my monthly salary as a high school English teacher. Her blonde hair cascaded in perfect waves, and her makeup was flawless despite claiming she'd thrown it together. "Claire, darling." She hugged me tightly, her expensive perfume enveloping us both. "You look wonderful. And this house, you've made it so beautiful." Ryan appeared in the doorway, and I noticed something I'd been blind to before. The way his eyes lit up when he saw her. The way he straightened his posture, smoothed his hair. The way he looked at her like she was sunshine after months of rain. "Natalie," he said, his voice warm in a way it hadn't been with me in months. "You look incredible." "Oh, stop," she laughed, but her cheeks flushed pink. "Ryan, you flatterer." During dinner, I watched them talk about cases at the firm where Natalie's father was a client. I watched Ryan laugh at her jokes, really laugh, in a way he hadn't, with me in ages. I watched her touch his arm when she spoke, lingering just a moment too long. I watched my husband look at my best friend like she was everything he'd ever wanted. And I watched them both pretend I wasn't sitting right there. "Claire, the salmon is divine," Natalie said, finally acknowledging me. "You're such an amazing cook." "Ryan's so lucky." "Yes," Ryan replied. But he was looking at Natalie when he said it. So lucky. The irony wasn't lost on me. Here I was, in my own home, feeling like the third wheel in my own marriage. 2 weeks later, I came home early from school with a migraine. The house was quiet. Ryan shouldn't be home for hours. I headed upstairs to our bedroom for some aspirin when I heard voices coming from his home office. "We can't keep doing this," Ryan was saying, his voice strained. I know, came Natalie's reply. But I can't stay away from you. These past few months have been torture. My hand froze on the door handle. My heart stopped beating. She's your wife, Ryan. And she's my best friend. This is destroying me. You think it's not destroying me too? Ryan's voice was passionate, more emotional than I'd heard him in years. But I can't help how I feel about you, Nat. I've never felt this way about anyone. Not even— Don't say it, Natalie interrupted. Don't say her name. It makes this so much worse. I pressed my back against the wall, my whole world tilting sideways. The migraine was nothing compared to the pain crushing my chest. I'm going to ask for a divorce, Ryan said quietly. I can't pretend anymore. It's not fair to any of us. What will you tell her? The truth. That we've grown apart. That we want different things. I won't mention you. Not yet. But after some time passes. Ryan, are you sure? Really sure? Because once we cross this line completely, there's no going back. I've never been more sure of anything in my life. I stumbled backward, my hand over my mouth to muffle the sob threatening to escape. 3 years of marriage, 7 years together. And he was willing to throw it all away for my best friend, the woman who'd sat at our wedding, who'd held my hand during my miscarriage, who'd called me her sister. I made it to the guest bathroom before I collapsed on the floor, my whole body shaking with silent sobs. Every memory was now tainted. Every kind gesture from Natalie. Every distant moment with Ryan. It all made horrible sense now. I spent the next 3 days in a haze, going through the motions of my life while my world crumbled inside. Ryan was gentler with me, probably working up the courage to have the talk. Natalie called twice, her voice bright and cheerful, asking about lunch plans and weekend shopping trips. On Friday evening, Ryan finally did it. Claire, we need to talk. We sat in the living room, I'd decorated with such care, surrounded by photos of our life together. Ryan perched on the edge of the couch like he might need to run at any moment. I think we should get a divorce, he said, not meeting my eyes. Even though I'd known it was coming, the words hit me like a physical blow. Why? We've grown apart. We want different things. We're not the same people we were when we got married. What different things? I pressed. We talked about having children. We talked about buying a bigger house. We made plans. Those were your plans, Claire. I went along with them because I thought that's what I wanted. But I realize now that I was just settling. Settling. The word cut deep. Is there someone else? Ryan's jaw tightened. No, this is about us. About how we're not working anymore. Liar. He looked me straight in the eye and lied without flinching. I want you to know that I'll be fair about everything, he continued. The house, the accounts, everything. I'm not trying to hurt you. Not trying to hurt me? I laughed bitterly. Ryan, you're destroying our marriage and you're not trying to hurt me. Claire, please don't make this harder than it has to be. Harder than it has to be? I stood up, anger finally breaking through the shock. You're asking for a divorce out of nowhere and I'm making it hard. It's not out of nowhere. You have to have felt it too. How distant we've become. Distant, because you've been pulling away. I've been trying to save our marriage while you've been planning to leave it. Ryan sighed like I was being unreasonable. I'll stay at a hotel tonight. We can figure out the logistics tomorrow. He left that night with a single suitcase, walking out of our home like it meant nothing. Like I meant nothing. The divorce proceedings moved faster than I expected. Ryan had already consulted with lawyers, had papers drawn up, had our entire life itemized and divided before he'd even told me he wanted out. I felt like I was watching someone else's life fall apart. Natalie was my constant companion through it all, showing up with wine and tissues, holding me while I cried, assuring me that I deserved better than a man who could throw away a marriage so callously. A lot of love and effort went into bringing this story to life. If you're enjoying it, we'd be so grateful if you'd subscribe to our channel. Now, back to where we left off. You're going to get through this, she said one evening, as we sat on my couch, the same couch where Ryan had ended our marriage 3 weeks earlier. You're so strong, Claire. Stronger than you know. I don't feel strong, I whispered. I feel broken. That's normal. But you're going to heal, and you're going to find someone who appreciates you the way you deserve to be appreciated. The lies came so easily to her. She held my hand while planning to marry my husband. She comforted me while betraying me in the worst possible way. 2 months after the divorce was finalized, Natalie called me with news that shattered what was left of my heart. Claire, I have something to tell you, and I want you to hear it from me first. My stomach dropped. I already knew. Ryan and we've been seeing each other. It just happened. After your divorce, we ran into each other at a coffee shop, and we started talking, and oh, Claire, I'm so sorry. I never meant for this to happen. How long? I asked quietly. What? How long have you been seeing each other? Really? Silence stretched between us. Claire, it wasn't like that. Nothing happened while you were married. I would. How long? Natalie. A few weeks, she whispered. Another lie. I'd heard them declaring their love months before my divorce was final. We didn't want to hurt you. We tried to fight it, but sometimes, you can't help who you fall in love with. Love. She called it love. Are you going to marry him? I asked. Claire, are you? Yes, she whispered. We're engaged. Engaged. They were engaged before they'd even told me they were dating. I hope you'll be happy for us eventually, Natalie said. I know it's hard now, but maybe someday you can understand that love doesn't always follow the rules we want it to. I hung up without another word. That night, alone in the house that no longer felt like home, I took a bottle of sleeping pills from my medicine cabinet. I stared at them for a long time, thinking about how much easier it would be to just stop. Stop hurting. Stop remembering. Stop existing in a world where the two people I'd loved most had betrayed me so completely. I swallowed the entire bottle. The last thing I remembered was thinking that at least the pain would finally end. I woke up in a hospital bed, fluorescent lights burning my eyes. My throat felt raw, my head pounded, and there was an IV needle in my arm. A nurse was checking my vitals, her expression professional but kind. Welcome back, she said softly. You gave us quite a scare. How are you feeling? Like I've been hit by a truck, I croaked. What happened? Your neighbor found you unconscious in your backyard. You'd been there for hours. Do you remember anything? Backyard? I remembered being in my bedroom, taking the pills. But somehow I'd ended up outside. The memories were hazy, fractured. I don't understand. The doctor will be in shortly to talk with you. There's also someone here who's been waiting to see you. My heart lurched. Ryan, had he come? But when the door opened, it wasn't my ex-husband who walked in. It was a man I'd only met a handful of times. Ryan's older brother, Marcus Patterson. Where Ryan was polished and conventionally handsome, Marcus was rugged and real. He was taller, broader, with calloused hands that spoke of actual work rather than paperwork. His dark hair was slightly messy, and he wore a simple flannel shirt and jeans. He looked like he'd rushed here from his construction site. Claire, he said, relief evident in his voice. Thank God you're okay. Marcus, what are you doing here? I was working on a project near your neighborhood when I heard the ambulance. I saw them bringing you out. He ran a hand through his hair. I've been here ever since. Where's Ryan? Marcus's expression hardened. On his honeymoon in Hawaii. He married Natalie yesterday. The words hit me like a physical blow. Yesterday, while I was fighting for my life, they were exchanging vows. He doesn't know you're here, Marcus continued. I tried calling him, but it went straight to voicemail. I left messages, but his new wife comes first. I finished bitterly. Marcus sat down in the chair beside my bed. Claire, what happened? The doctor said you had a reaction to medication, but your neighbor said you'd been acting strange lately. Strange, that was one way to put it. I'd been living in a fog since the divorce. Barely eating. Barely sleeping. Maybe I had been acting strange. I don't remember much, I said, which was partially true. Everything's been hard since the divorce. I know, and I'm sorry. What Ryan did, it wasn't right. Something in his tone made me look at him more carefully. You knew, didn't you? About him and Natalie. Marcus's jaw tightened. I suspected. Ryan's always been good at hiding things, but I saw how he looked at her at family gatherings. I tried to talk to him about it, but he shut me down. Why didn't you tell me? Because I had no proof. And because, he paused, because I didn't think it was my place. I should have said something. I'm sorry. For the first time in months, someone was apologizing to me and actually meaning it. The sincerity in Marcus's voice was something I'd forgotten existed. Over the next few days, Marcus visited me every day. He brought me real food to supplement the hospital meals, books to read, and most importantly, he listened, really listened. In a way I'd forgotten people could. Ryan always said you were the perfect wife, Marcus said one afternoon as we sat in the hospital garden. But I think that might have been the problem. What do you mean? Perfect is intimidating. Perfect doesn't leave room for real connection. Maybe Ryan felt like he could never measure up to your perfection, so he found someone who was flawed like him. I bristled. I wasn't trying to be perfect. I was trying to be good enough. Good enough for what? For him? For everyone. I spent my whole life trying to be what other people wanted me to be. Marcus studied me with those dark eyes. What do you want to be? No one had ever asked me that before. I don't know. Maybe it's time to find out. When I was released from the hospital, I expected to go home to my empty house and empty life. Instead, Marcus was waiting with a different suggestion. Come stay with me for a while, he said. You shouldn't be alone right now. I can't impose on you like that. You're not imposing. My house is huge and empty, and I could use the company. Besides, it's temporary, just until you figure out what you want to do next. Marcus's house was nothing like the pristine suburban home I'd shared with Ryan. It was a restored Victorian in downtown Denver, filled with handmade furniture and artwork from local artists. It felt lived in, comfortable, real. I built most of this myself, Marcus said as he showed me to the guest room. It's not fancy, but it's home. It's beautiful, I said. And meant it. You did all this, nights and weekends for the past 5 years. It's been my therapy. I understood the appeal, creating something with your own hands, making something beautiful from nothing. It was the opposite of my marriage, where I'd tried to build something real with someone who'd already decided it wasn't worth keeping. Living with Marcus was easy in a way that living with Ryan never had been. Marcus didn't expect me to be anything other than what I was. He didn't need me to cook elaborate meals or keep the house spotless or dress up for dinner. He seemed to actually enjoy my company, quirks and all. You know, he said one evening as we painted the kitchen together, I never understood what Ryan was thinking when he married you. My paintbrush stopped mid-stroke. Thanks. Marcus laughed. That came out wrong. I meant I never understood how he got so lucky. You were always too good for him. Apparently not. No, that's exactly my point. You were too good for him, so he sabotaged it. Ryan's always been threatened by anything that makes him feel inadequate. I thought about that as I rolled paint onto the wall. Natalie doesn't make him feel inadequate. Natalie makes him feel important. There's a difference. She needs him for his money, his status, his connections. You never needed him for anything. I needed him for love. No, you wanted him for love. You would have been fine without him. That's what scared him. Over the weeks, I started to remember who I'd been before Ryan. I remembered that I used to paint watercolors, that I loved hiking, that I had opinions about books and movies and politics. I remembered that I'd been happy alone before I'd convinced myself I needed someone else to complete me. Marcus encouraged all of it. When I mentioned missing art, he set up an easel in the sunroom. When I talked about wanting to travel, he showed me photos from his trips to job sites across the country. When I worried about finding a new teaching position, he helped me update my resume and practice interviewing. You're going to be fine, he said one evening, as we sat on his back porch, watching the sunset. Better than fine. You're going to be amazing. How can you be so sure? Because I've been watching you come back to life these past few weeks. The woman Ryan married was trying so hard to be perfect that she forgot to be herself. The woman sitting next to me right now is real. It was subtle at first, the way my feelings began to change. Marcus wasn't trying to win me over or impress me. He was just there, steady, kind, real in a way Ryan had never been. When I got the job at a private school across town, Marcus celebrated with takeout Chinese food and terrible movies. When I had nightmares about the divorce, he made me tea and sat with me until I fell asleep. When I finally worked up the courage to drive past the house I'd shared with Ryan, Marcus held my hand in the passenger seat. They changed the landscaping, I said, staring at the home that no longer felt like mine. Good, Marcus said firmly. It should look different. You're different now. He was right. I was different. Stronger, more myself than I'd been in years. I should probably find my own place soon, I said one evening as we cleaned up after dinner. Why? Because I can't live with you forever. Who? I looked at him. Really looked at him. Marcus, I know it's complicated. I know the timing is terrible. I know Ryan's my brother and this probably breaks about a dozen unspoken rules. But I can't pretend I don't have feelings for you. My heart stopped. What kind of feelings? The kind that makes me want to protect you from ever being hurt again. The kind that makes me look forward to coming home because I know you'll be here. The kind that makes me want to be the man you deserve instead of the man who settled for you. Marcus, we shouldn't. I'm not asking you to do anything about it. I'm just telling you that you have options. You don't have to figure out your whole life right now, but you should know that there are people who see your worth. That night, I lay in bed thinking about everything that had changed. 6 months ago, I'd been a woman desperately trying to save a marriage that was already over. Now I was a woman being offered something I'd never had before: love without conditions, acceptance without performance, partnership without power games. The next morning, I woke up to the sound of Marcus making coffee in the kitchen. He did this every morning, timing it perfectly so it would be ready when I got up. It was a small gesture, but it spoke of thoughtfulness that Ryan had never shown. Morning, he said, handing me a mug. Sleep better? Yes, actually. I had slept better despite everything we'd talked about. Marcus, about what you said last night. You don't have to say anything, Claire. I just wanted you to know. But I do have to say something. Because I have feelings for you too. He went very still. Claire, I know it's complicated. I know Ryan's your brother. I know it's probably too soon and too messy and too everything. But I can't pretend I don't feel something for you. What kind of something? I stepped closer to him. The kind that makes me want to stay here forever. The kind that makes me feel like myself for the first time in years. The kind that makes me want to choose someone who chose me first. He set down his coffee mug and reached for my hands. Are you sure? Because once we cross this line, there's no going back. Ryan's going to lose his mind. Let him, I said, surprising myself with the vehemence in my voice. He made his choice. Now I'm making mine. Marcus smiled, and it was like watching the sun rise. In that case, Claire Patterson, who used to be Claire Mitchell, I corrected. I went back to my maiden name. In that case, Claire Mitchell, would you like to go to dinner with me tonight? Somewhere nice? Where can I court you properly? I'd love that. He leaned down and kissed me softly, carefully, like I was something precious he didn't want to break. It was everything a kiss should be and nothing like the obligatory pecks I'd gotten used to with Ryan. When we broke apart, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Hope. There's just one thing, I said. What's that? I want to be the one to tell Ryan. I want to be the one to see his face when he realizes what he gave up. Marcus's eyes darkened with something that might have been satisfaction. I think that's a perfect idea. 3 weeks after Marcus and I began dating, I received an unexpected call from my former neighbor, Mrs. Henderson. Claire, dear. I hope you don't mind me calling. I got your number from the school directory. I wanted to tell you something about the night you were found in your backyard. My stomach clenched. I still had gaps in my memory from that night. What about it? Well, I was watering my plants around midnight when I heard voices from your yard. I looked over and saw you talking to someone by your garden. A man. A man. Who? I couldn't see clearly in the dark, but he was tall, wearing a suit. He seemed to be arguing with you. Then he helped you sit down on your porch. I went inside to get my glasses, and when I came back out, he was gone and you were lying on the ground. My mind raced. Someone had been there that night. Someone who'd left me unconscious in my backyard instead of calling for help. Mrs. Henderson, this is very important. Did you recognize the man? I'm sorry, dear. It was too dark and I didn't have my glasses on, but I've been feeling terrible about not calling the police that night. I just thought it was a friend helping you home. After hanging up, I sat in Marcus's kitchen, pieces of a puzzle clicking into place. Someone had been there. Someone who'd rather leave me unconscious outside than face the consequences of what they'd done. What's wrong? Marcus asked, finding me staring at my phone. I told him about Mrs. Henderson's call. His expression grew darker with each word. You think it was Ryan? Who else would be wearing a suit at midnight? Who else would leave me there instead of calling for help? Marcus's hands clenched into fists. If he was there that night and didn't help you, he probably came to check on me after Natalie told him about their engagement. Maybe he felt guilty and wanted to make sure I was okay. But when he found me like that, he panicked and ran. Marcus finished. Left you there to die. The betrayal cut deeper than the divorce had. Ryan hadn't just left me for another woman. He'd literally left me to die when I needed help most. I'm going to kill him, Marcus said quietly. No, I said, standing up. I'm going to do something worse. I'm going to show him exactly what he lost. Ryan and Natalie had been back from their honeymoon for 2 days, when I decided to pay them a visit. I'd driven past their new house, a gaudy mansion in the most expensive part of Denver that screamed new money and insecurity. I rang the doorbell at exactly 7 p.m., knowing they'd be home from work. Natalie answered, and her face went through a series of expressions: surprise, guilt, and something that might have been fear. Claire, she breathed. What are you doing here? Hello, Natalie. You look well. Marriage agrees with you. She was wearing a silk blouse and designer jeans, her hair perfectly styled even at home, but I could see the dark circles under her concealer. The tension in her shoulders. Is Ryan home? I'd like to speak with both of you. Claire, I don't think that's a good idea. We're trying to move forward. And what? Pretend I never existed? Pretend you didn't betray me in the worst possible way? Ryan appeared behind her, his face wary. Claire, what do you want? To talk. May I come in? They exchanged glances. Ryan stepped aside reluctantly. 5 minutes. Their living room was a monument to excess, expensive furniture that looked like it belonged in a hotel lobby, art that was clearly chosen for its price tag rather than its beauty. Everything was perfect and cold and utterly without soul. You have a lovely home, I said, settling into an uncomfortable designer chair. Very ambitious. What do you want, Claire? Ryan repeated, his lawyer instincts kicking in. I want to thank you. They both blinked in surprise. Thank me, Ryan said, for leaving me, for showing me what you really were, for forcing me to discover who I really am. Natalie shifted uncomfortably. Claire, we never wanted to hurt you. Didn't you? Because it seems like hurting me was exactly what you wanted. You couldn't have my life, Natalie, so you decided to destroy it. That's not fair. Natalie protested. We fell in love. We couldn't help it. You fell in love while I was married to him. You fell in love while pretending to be my best friend. You fell in love while lying to my face every single day. We tried to fight it, Ryan said. We never meant for it to happen. But you're so glad it did, I said, standing up. Look at all this. The house, the lifestyle, the perfect couple, everyone admires. You got everything you wanted. We did, Natalie said defiantly. We're happy. Are you? Because you both look miserable. And they did. Ryan looked tired and older than his 31 years. Natalie looked brittle, like she might shatter at any moment. We're very happy, Ryan said firmly. Now, if you're done. I'm not done. I have news to share. I pulled out my phone and showed them a photo Marcus had taken of me at his construction site, wearing his hard hat and laughing at something he'd said. I looked radiant, genuinely happy in a way I'd never looked during my marriage. I'm seeing someone, I announced. Ryan's face went pale. Who? Someone who sees my worth. Someone who chose me first, instead of as a consolation prize. Claire, that's wonderful, Natalie said, though her voice was strained. We want you to be happy. Do you? Because you seemed pretty determined to make sure I was miserable. Who is he? Ryan pressed. I smiled. Someone you know very well. The color drained from Ryan's face. Claire, don't tell me you're… I'm dating Marcus. The silence that followed was deafening. Ryan's face went through a series of emotions, shock, anger, betrayal, and something that might have been fear. Marcus? He whispered. My brother Marcus. Your brother who was there for me when I needed help. Your brother who saw me as more than just a convenient wife. Your brother who's everything you never were. You can't be serious, Natalie said. Claire, this is just revenge. You're using him to get back at us. Am I? Or did I finally find someone who actually loves me? Ryan stood up abruptly. You're lying. Marcus would never… Never what? Never what? Someone you discarded? Never see value in something you threw away? He's my brother, and I was your wife. Did that stop you? Ryan began pacing, his composure cracking. This is insane. You're doing this to hurt me. Everything isn't about you, Ryan. This is about me choosing someone who chooses me back. Marcus doesn't know what he's doing. You're vulnerable. You're using him. The way you used me? The way Natalie used our friendship. That's different. How? Ryan couldn't answer. He just stood there, realizing that his brother had what he'd thrown away. He's better than you, I said quietly, in every way that matters. He's kinder, more genuine, more honest. He builds things instead of tearing them down. Claire. Please, Natalie said. Think about what you're doing. This will destroy their family. The way you destroyed mine. There's something else, I said, enjoying the way they both tensed. I know about the night of my accident. Ryan went completely still. What about it? I know you were there. I know you left me unconscious in my backyard instead of calling for help. I don't know what you're talking about. My neighbor saw you, Ryan. She saw you arguing with me. Saw you leave me there. The blood drained from his face. Claire, you what? Can you explain? Can you justify leaving me to die? I didn't leave you to die. I thought you were just drunk. I thought you'd passed out and would be fine in the morning. I'd taken an entire bottle of sleeping pills, Ryan. I was dying, and you left me there. Natalie gasped. Ryan, you didn't tell me. I came to check on you, Ryan said desperately. I felt guilty about the timing of our announcement. I wanted to make sure you were okay. And when you found me barely conscious, you decided to leave me there rather than deal with the inconvenience of calling an ambulance. I panicked. I didn't know what to do. You could have saved my life. Instead, you chose to save your honeymoon. Ryan sank into a chair, the weight of his actions finally hitting him. Claire, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Sorry doesn't fix what you did. Sorry doesn't give me back the months of trauma, the nightmares, the fear. What do you want from us? Natalie asked quietly. I want you to know that I'm happy. Genuinely, completely happy. I want you to know that Marcus loves me the way you never did, Ryan. I want you to know that I'm grateful you left me, because it led me to someone who actually deserves me. 6 months later, I stood in the garden of Marcus's house watching him work on a new project. He was building a greenhouse where I could paint year-round, something he'd been planning as a surprise for my birthday. You know, I said, wrapping my arms around him from behind, I think this is going to be perfect. Just like you, he murmured, kissing my temple. I'm not perfect. No, you're real. That's better. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. It was a photo of Ryan and Natalie at what looked like a marriage counselor's office. They both looked miserable. Marcus, look at this. He glanced at the phone and shook his head. I almost feel sorry for them. Almost? They made their choices, they have to live with them. I deleted the photo without responding. I didn't need to gloat or get revenge. I had something better. A life with someone who actually loved me. Marcus? Yeah? I'm ready. For what? For whatever comes next. With you. He turned around and pulled me into his arms. In that case, Claire Mitchell, I have something to ask you. He dropped to one knee right there in the garden, pulling out a ring that was nothing like the flashy diamond Ryan had given me. This was a simple band with a small emerald, my birthstone. Will you marry me? Not because it's expected or convenient, or because you're settling, but because you want to build a life with me. I looked at this man who'd saved my life in every way that mattered, who'd helped me find myself again, who'd chosen me when I was broken and loved me while I healed. Yes, I said, and meant it more than I'd ever meant anything. As he slipped the ring onto my finger, I thought about the woman I'd been a year ago. Desperate, betrayed, broken. That woman had died in that backyard. And I'd been reborn as someone stronger, someone who knew her worth, someone who wouldn't settle for less than she deserved. Ryan and Natalie could have their mansion and their miserable marriage. I had something they'd never understand. Love without conditions, partnership without power games, and a man who'd chosen me first, last, and always. The best revenge wasn't destroying them. It was building something beautiful with the life they'd tried to throw away. And as Marcus kissed me in the garden he'd helped me create, I realized that sometimes the best second chances come from the most unexpected places. Sometimes you have to lose everything to find out what you're really worth. And sometimes, the brother really is better than the man who broke your heart. Looking for more? We've got 2 amazing stories ready for you right on screen. If this one touched you, these are absolutely worth your time. Click to watch them now. And hey, subscribe and hit that bell to never miss our latest uploads.